My name is Chris Benner. I'm a professor of Environmental Studies and Sociology. I also direct the Institute for Social Transformation and the Everett Program for Technology and Social Change. The population I've been mostly concerned with around the COVID-19 pandemic is gig workers in San Francisco. So these are the people doing ride-hailing services, Uber and Lyft. There are also people doing what are really critical services right now of delivering food and groceries. So we wanted to understand sort of the economic circumstances and whether they were getting appropriate personal protective equipment from the platforms that they work for, Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, Grubhub, Instacart. These are the companies that we're focusing on, as well as a company called Shipt, which is a little less known. Well over half the people in the survey that we did had lost anywhere from 75% to 100% of their earnings. There just aren't available work that's out there. Those that had been doing food delivery or were able to switch to food delivery are doing somewhat better. But even so, there's a large number of people trying to get that work for a relatively small demand. And so the amount of work they're getting is not enough to replace the income that's been lost from the tremendous loss of other jobs in the ride-hailing work. We also discovered that people have not been able to access unemployment insurance in the way that we had hoped for. The CARES Act that was passed federally did make independent contractors eligible for unemployment insurance, but it still has to be approved through the state. They have a harder time documenting previous income. A number of people that we interviewed or surveyed talked about being denied access to unemployment insurance. And most of them were not getting support for the personal protective equipment or cleaning the vehicles that you would expect. In the COVID impact survey, which is a much more recent one, that was an online survey that was circulated through networks of drivers, through online Facebook forums, and through email lists that organizations were in touch with, community and labor organizations had put together. And so in a relatively short period of time, we were able to get a couple of hundred people responding to that survey about their current circumstances. One thing I want to emphasize in terms of the findings of this study, which I think is important, is that a large portion of this workforce are immigrants. In the original survey, it's about 60-65%, about the same in the more recent COVID survey. We were not asking people about their documentation status, but we can assume a significant portion of those immigrants are undocumented immigrants because it's relatively low barriers to get this kind of work. So they're going to be particularly vulnerable in the downturn because they don't have access to any of the federal or state resources. The state has passed some assistance specifically targeted to undocumented residents of California, and they make up a large portion of the state. In Southern California, as much as 20% of the population, pretty similar in San Francisco, of families that have someone in the family who's undocumented. So these are people who are contributing essential work, and in this case, providing essential food delivery, and need to be taken care of to the extent that we can.